What's going on, everyone? So there's been a lot of talk about the Lakers overpaying for Max Christie. And I don't understand it. I think it's very silly because, again, Max Christie, yes, I know we don't have like a huge sample size and we didn't get to see him play a ton and whatnot, but he's making an average annual salary of $8 million a year. The salary cap is also going to skyrocket over the next few years. So that $8 million is going to be the equivalent of like $3 million. But even then, right? Like at $8 million, even by like now standards, right? Like that's not a insane amount. I mean, it's like little more than the taxpayer mid-level. It's like $2 million more, $2.5 million more. And he's a 21-year-old prototypical 3-and-D player. Right? Plenty of room, plenty of growth, plenty of upside. He also, in again, a limited run, has shown the ability to be an excellent defender. I mean, he might arguably be our second best perimeter defender behind Jared Vanderbilt already. There's an argument for like Cam Reddish, stuff like that, and Gabe Vincent, but Max Christie, I remember him locking up, like literally clamping up Damian Lillard. Also Devin Booker, right? Like he's shown very real promise for a 20-year-old, 20 or 21-year-old now, right? Like they didn't pay him 4 years, $80 million. They didn't pay him 4 years, $60 million, right? Like if he's just a rotation piece, right? Even if he's playing like 15 minutes a game, right, then he's worth that type of money. Right? Go look at basically the 7th, 8th guy on most teams. They're around that range. But there's also a couple other factors, right? So like he was in the same position as Austin Reeves. Now, if you're the Lakers, do you want to play games and go, we'll give you, 4 years, $20 million, right? And it's like, okay, $5 million a year annually. All right, maybe I should see what the open market would give me, right? Maybe I can get a little more. Because look, the Lakers can't lose, or they can lose them if they don't match. But, they're in the same boat as Austin Reeves, where if a team gives this huge inflated contract, then they have to match it. So if you're the Lakers, do you really want to run the risk? $8 million, for us, our standards, $8 million. I mean, give me $8 million, let's go. But from an NBA contract standpoint, for a 21-year-old that's shooting 40% on catch and shoot threes and has shown the promise to be a real defensive player in this league and is the prototypical stereotype that the Lakers are trying to find as we speak, right? Like, so even if he just becomes a legit 3-and-D, if he becomes even half of what KCP is making like $22 million a year, right? Like, again, so I believe his contract is actually really good value, right? I think Max Christie should be mad about the contract because he got screwed. Max Christie, if he would have actually been a rotation piece, probably would have been getting $15 million a year, right? Like, this is kind of the going rate for those kind of guys that are, not quite that stature of like, I'm a star, like an OG or anything like that, but like that, like, hey, this guy has a lot of promise. Again, like $8 million contracts, those are the type of contracts that teams just throw out just to throw out. Like, we want this guy, let's get him, right? Like, so to me, I don't hate the contract. I don't think it's a terrible, valuable contract. I think that, is there a little risk? Sure. But it's not like an insane risk. It's not like they signed him to a max. And again, you run the risk of just losing him entirely, right? What if the Lakers played games and they didn't get it done immediately, right? Because now with the new CBA, you get to negotiate and do these before free agency. What if they let him explore free agency because they're like, we want to give you $3 million a year or whatever, or you don't get him long term, right? What happens if you sign him for, let's say, 2 years, $10 million, but he has a player option for the next year, and then this year he goes out, gets an upgraded rotation piece, and he's actually great, and now his demand on the market is like $15 million a year. Now you just screwed yourself, right? Like, where they basically got great value for him. If he's just a serviceable rotation, if he's in your top 8 rotation, which I do believe he will be, then that $8 million is great. And I think it's only going to get better as he continues to get better, right? Like, again, I mean, look, I'll be the first to admit I am very high on Max Christie, higher than some. I have I think he's going to be something in this league. I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar, like top 10 player or anything like that, but I think he's going to be a real starting level 2 guard in this league that's going to be able to defend, knock the catch and shoot down, create for himself, create a little bit for everybody. Like, I think he's going to be a very good player in this league, right? So I look at the $8 million as like, I think that's good value. But again, like, if he goes out in free agency, what if one of these teams go, Max Christie, like, Lakers are offering him $3 million, right? Or $5 million, let's say. Why don't we throw out a $10, $12 million contract, right? Like, I think that it was fair middle ground for Max Christie. Could they maybe, like, let's say you look at it and you go, like, he should have been around $5 million a year, right? Because he's better than a vet minimum even now, right? Like, even what we've seen as sample size goes. And, like, realistically, let's say you look at his contract, okay, $5 million a year. So you're paying $3 million extra this year for a guy that is looked at and is expected to be a real rotation piece for the Lakers, right? You have to go pay that anyway for a guy to do that. But also, his upside and potential is that much more, and you didn't run the risk of somebody jacking up the price, right? Because you may have had these, I mean, there was talks about the Spurs doing that with Austin Reeves and jacking up the price on Reeves, maybe even just to mess with the Lakers. What if they would have done that for Max Christie? What if they would have been like, hey, man, give me another guard that would slot in beautifully, right, alongside Devin Vassell and, Stephon Castle, and could play well alongside Wemby, right, a legit 3-and-D guard. We can throw $12 million at him, see what happens, Lakers match, and now it's like, okay, well, now you really overpaid him, right? Like, so to me, I don't look at it that way. Again, I was like $8 million, that's it. I thought he would try to push for more. I thought he'd be trying to get some more. Like, I thought he'd be like $8 million, like, I'll just test the open market and see, like, that contract's not going anywhere, right? Like, so I looked at, I don't know, I don't think it's a bad value contract for even just what we've seen. And again, I understand it's a limited sample size of what we've seen from him, but in starts, he's been well, right? He's shown the ability to knock down the 3 with consistency. Again, 40% catch and shoot. He's not like 40% from 3 yet, but he might get there. But catch and shoot, 40% is very good, right? And he's been that his rookie and sophomore season. So that's just who he is a 40% catch and shoot 3-point shooter. Again, defensively, he's been A1. Does he still need to, work on the defense? Does he need to not gamble so much? Does he need to learn better discipline? Sure, of course. But again, he's 21, right? Like, he's younger than the guy we drafted 17th by like a couple years, right? So, like, again, I don't look at Max, like, if we drafted Max Christie right now at, 10th or whatever, or 15th, or say in place of Dalton Connect, right? And the sample size that he's shown thus far, we saw, which is still more than Dalton Connect. He's been great. Like, we'd all be preaching and hyping up and, oh man, like, Max Christie, dude, we got him on a steal, right? Like, I look at Max Christie as a real rotation piece this year that can defend. He should have been a rotation piece last year. But here's the thing that I think is funny, okay? And again, video proof is on this channel. I said last offseason, what if the Lakers don't play Max Christie so they don't have to pay him $15+ million? I talked heavily about that. About how, because again, you had Reeves, you had D'Lo, you had Gabe Vincent, you had Cam Reddish, right? You had several guys that could slide. Torian Prince could even slide over and play the 2. So I was like, what if the Lakers just don't play Max Christie, or they play him very limited so they don't have to give him a big contract. And everyone told me I was crazy. And I was like, again, you could justify it, right? Lo and behold, now again, maybe that's just how it played out. But I looked at it, seemed kind of sus to me, right? Like, because all the numbers, everything said, play Max Christie. Like, some of our best lineups were with Max Christie in the lineups. And, I mean, Darvin Ham was playing Taurean Prince like 40 minutes a game at points. That stretches down the stretch. And the numbers said anything more than like 15 minutes, the Lakers are terrible. So, why wouldn't you try Max Christie? When Gabe Vincent, Jared Vanderbilt, and Cam Reddish all went down, why wouldn't you try your only defensive player left? It just was odd to me, right? Again, tinfoil hat on, maybe that was the plan. So you could lock him up to an $8 million deal. You know, $8 million a year deal, 4 years. Now you got him locked in. Right now you don't have to worry about it. Now you got him over 4 years. Now let's start getting him into the swing of things. Now let's get him out there. Because remember, he was cooking in Summer League. I mean, he was the best player on the court every game he played. And like, it wasn't even close. Right? He was getting whatever he wanted, whenever he wanted it. He was so comfortable out there. He, at times defensively he kind of lacks, but I think that was just kind of like, hey, I'm on the team. Like, I'm not going to go 1,000%. But like, he looked good. He looked very good. It was like, oh man, he's going to be a real rotation piece. And then they just didn't play him. I don't know. It's just weird. But I think that Max Christie's on a good valued contract. Again, is he slightly overpaid? Possibly. But I think it's more likely that he's underpaid in a year or two than it is that he's overpaid during the duration of his contract. Again, this isn't like even a double-digit contract, right? This isn't $10 million. No, it's $8 million, which is like, like the kind of the middle ground for players, right? Like $8 million, again, like teams just be throwing out those type of contracts to players, right? So to take that and throw it on Max Christie, right? Like a lot of people I've seen like with THT thing, like Max Christie and THT were very different, right? Like THT, I actually thought would be something. He just didn't. I mean, I'm still a free agent, right? If I'm not mistaken. So, but Max Christie is like the perfect skill set. Like THT, you knew, like he needs the ball in his hands. He's some work, but man, like he could be something. Like Max Christie now, again, he's 40% on catch and shoot threes. Like 40% catch and shoot threes and can defend, the best player on the other team. Like now, he could do it last season, right? Like, again, he's worth $8 million to me. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you think that he's overpaid, underpaid, middle ground? Do you think he's like, nah, not really overpaid, but not really underpaid? Just kind of there. I think he is fairly paid, personally. I'm in the middle. I don't think he's overpaid. I don't think he's underpaid. I think he's right in the middle for, a young 3-and-D style player. Like, I don't think that that's really that far-fetched to give him that, right? Like, lock him up long-term. You don't have to worry about it. I think he'll be underpaid in 2 years tops. I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of this year, like we get through this year and it's like, oh, wow, Max Christie, $8 million is a steal for Max Christie. That wouldn't surprise me at all at the end of this season. But we'll see. Time will tell. But again, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Helps me enjoy these types of videos. Truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.